Welcome to the podcast. Most people don't, but you do. We have stories with people that go above and beyond, people that are doing things that maybe aren't the easiest things to do, but are certainly well worth it. When they identify that the benefits of doing are certainly stronger than the consequences of not doing. Thrilled to welcome to the show. This is going to be probably episode 250, 260. Nik Agharkar. He is the founder, CEO of Crowne Tax and Wealth Counsel. I had the pleasure of being on a hosted panel, essentially, for David Meltzer's office hours in Las Vegas. I just love Nik's energy. I love the way that he asked questions. And I thought, you know what? Let's see how he answers questions. Nik, we are glad that you are joining us today.
Bart, thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful seeing you out in Las Vegas. I'm excited for today.
So much fun. You were the main host. I was one of the co-host panels, but I just loved your enthusiasm and your consideration when you're asking questions. And we had a wide variety of guests that were on David's show. I really enjoyed the energy, the passion, the enthusiasm, and it just made me think hotspot and let me ask him some questions. So the first question is, what do you do that most people don't do, aligning with the theme of the podcast?
You see an angle and I take it. Most people see opportunities and they maybe get cold feet, or they don't actually jump, or they don't actually believe they can do it. I have always been the person that if I see an opportunity, I'm going to try and jump at it because I'm the person that believes life really opens up when you say yes more than no. Now, look, this has also certainly gotten me in trouble. I think overcommitment is a big problem I have. But ultimately, I think most people see things come by and just don't take action. It's like the old story, a man is drowning and he says, oh, pray, if God, he'll save me. God sends a little canoe. Canoe comes in and says, no, I don't need your help. God save me. And successively large boats come and the man finally drowns. And he asks God, why didn't you come and save me? He said, I sent you 3 boats. I don't know.
What were you waiting for?
Exactly. Ultimately, people, I think, watch life pass them by without really taking agency and ownership. Something I really try and do on a daily basis.
Give us an example. When you started your company, Crowne Tax, prior to that, were you working for someone? Being an entrepreneur and starting your own, an opportunity that you saw. Can you share?
This is my second go around. The first time out on my own, I was at a firm and I wanted to be a partner, and I didn't really agree with their business development model. I thought that I had a better idea in terms of client acquisition. I quit. I quit my job with a home and no prospects, no money coming in. My wife, as you can imagine, was thrilled. But I did believe in myself, did execute on my system, and my took off 122 clients within 9 months, which is a phenomenal result until you realize that it was just me all by myself doing all of the work. And so that became nearly impossible. It actually did become impossible. Much so that I ended up selling that book of business into a much firm to take advantage of the infrastructure. But there I was, again, just a litigator. Became pretty apparent even to partnership that I was unhappy, really what I wanted to be doing. I thought I'll go get my MBA. I'll completely change my career. A friend was at a management consulting firm. And he said, don't do that. Don't go get your MBA. Come work for us because you get paid to get your MBA. Dropped into the large companies, you do the strategy work, and ultimately you learn business that way. I thought ahead and I'll do that. In doing this, company was born. During that 3-year stint or so in management consulting, what happened to me consistently with these very wealthy, smart executives would come up to me after these strategy meetings and say, but hey, so you're still an attorney because I'm getting 10 these RSUs, or I have this side hustle. How am I doing this correctly? All of these questions that are important financial and tax implications. These questions were coming to me, some random person they met in a meeting. That's when the light bulb went off for me. That, these people can't find good advice. There's a marketplace. Crowne Tax and Wealth was born out of that need, out of this need for folks who are probably making, I would say, between 2 and 50 a year in revenue business, really generally. These folks, what I call too big for strip mall CPA, and they're too small for the Ernst & Youngs, the Deloittes. They end up in this limbo where they can't really get great actionable advice because they can't really afford that top dollar.
Sure.
but they're really not getting the service they need from their providers. That's where we come in because I'm an attorney. I can actually do all the structuring work, all the legal work that might be necessary. And then I have CPAs on my staff and an entire back office team that can help support. It's built for scale, but all for business owners to be able to actually get real advice, someone that can actually implement that advice. Oh, that's not going to just leave you with a book. Here's some ideas. Good
Sure.
luck. Not what we do here.
Nick, when these individuals were come after these strategy meetings and saying, Nick, can you help me? Can you help me? What do you think they saw in you made them comfortable in wanting to approach you?
Think about that a lot. Honestly, I think perception of an attorney. I think it's rightly suited that we are the ones that have a duty to help. And that is really our mandate. It's to help our clients and really owe them a fiduciary duty to make sure that we're doing the right thing by them, that we are loyal to them, that we are diligent in our work, and that we communicate with them on a regular and recurring basis. These are some mandates attorneys have to live by that some other that might hold themselves out as fiduciary simply don't. Lawyers have this very high standard of things that are required of them. And I think that piece of it is what attracted these folks to me. But then in addition, I think again, I have a very blunt style. I don't come at issues of it depends. What I try and do is provide my clients options. So here are the things that you can, here are your menu of options. Here's the option I the best, and here's why. But ultimately, this is your choice. Because I look at it this way. I am not the attorney that inserts myself into someone else's life. I sit next to you and co-create and advise you. That's my role. And that's generally where it's mostly accepted. I think most attorneys get into trouble when they try and dictate what their clients should do.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I look at my role as a guide. If you tell me, hey, I'm comfortable with that risk, I understand what you're saying, but I'm going to do this anyway. I'm going to write you a letter saying, look, I disagree with you. I don't think this is the right choice. And if it blows up in your face, that's on you, not me. But ultimately, I thought it as it's not my monkey, not my circus. This is your life. I can help
Okay.
guide. I can
Nick,
right.
the interesting thing, you totally not giving credit to yourself.
You know,
You did credit for yourself here for a second. Your answers were, I asked you, why do you think they felt comfortable in coming up to you? You're like, because I'm a tax attorney and fiduciary responsibility. Nick, they came up to you because you're a good person. You aren't hiding anything. You're not putting on airs. You're smart as can be, and you're able to explain things in a way that makes sense. That's why it's your personality, man. Accept that. I know you're very unself-serving to give that answer, but just my interactions with an honest, smart person that will help why people comfortable coming up to you.
oh, I appreciate that part. I look, that's the thing is that for me, so much of my work and really my life, really about those other people that I can serve. That is my mission. So either I am perhaps a bit too humble, which Mike completely disagree with, but I think you're right. Speaking and working with them, and sure that they understand. That is a point very true. Is that I work with my clients to empower knowledge. One of the things I never want my clients to say is, "Well, I don't know why we're doing these things." But I want to make sure that you understand exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Agreed. Agreed. Awesome. All right, Nick. Nick, getting back to you see opportunities to be able to most people don't do. You also referenced that in working with a couple of other organizations that maybe therefore not aligned with your philosophies. How would you describe your business philosophy? Now that you have your own company, you've been able to create a culture that aligns totally with your philosophy. How would you describe what your business philosophy is?
It's honestly, this sounds hokey, but it really is. It's client first. That is our main focus. And every system, every process we is from the client's perspective. I think that really from studying Steve Jobs and Apple, because if we think about just even the iPod, there were MP3 players out there. Were loads of MP3 players out there. The iPod was not the first, but it was the first to actually, from the user's perspective, first principle instead of, hey, what's this technology? Let's load another technology on here. We can put this software, this can connect to this. All of those investors are great, but if the user doesn't understand how to use it, useless. It's not interesting to them. I think what's interesting about what Apple did was they first thought, okay, how is the person going to use this machine? How is it going to, let's make it easy, even from the packaging. becomes there's no, it's not frustrating to get into it. This is the approach that I bring to and is what I tell my team all the time is we really need to just make sure at every touch point, the client that they're working with us. Look, I had struggles in this regard as I have expanded because unfortunately there are people out there that just don't have that mentality, that have the mentality of just, I'll get to it. It's the client's going to complain. I'll work on it. I'll just keep fluffing it. This is not behavior that I want or I want to reward. I've had to get rid of people that just are floating, not going to work with me because philosophy is making sure that clients understand what's going on at all times. And yes, that absolutely made mistakes, drop the ball clients, but making it right. Hey, you're right. We're going to give you a credit. But ultimately, the piece of the business, really the core, the central is it's a service business. So it's got the primary philosophy.
Where do you think that comes from?
You think it really comes from law school and being scared straight in that the number one way that an attorney loses their license is simply by not with their client. Literally just not picking up the phone, not answering emails. Like, to me, that's insane. Right? Look, I get behind too in emails, but I never not answer. There's never not a time where I won't skip a meeting or I'll make a call. Right? Even if bad news, especially if I have bad news. Like, hey, screwed up here. I'll eat my or unfortunately, the petition we made didn't turn out our way. And here's what we're going to do next. But ultimately, I don't shy away from calls because by duty, I have to put that client free because if I don't, it's my butt on the line. That's, I think, where it comes from. But then secondary reason is I really think about the golden rule of treat others as you would treat. I would expect that if I'm the client of someone else, that they're going to treat me like. And so I try and deliver that level of service.
Who taught you that?
I think honestly, parents, it always comes back to that. It's always think about that next person. If you're in a room and you took something out or you didn't put something back, what the next person that comes has to now deal with. That's not fair. I think that's
Mhm.
really where it comes from is just being considerate and thinking about other people and what might think need central to my personality, to be honest.
Yes. That's unusual, Nick. It's unusual. One, to be positively influenced by your parents and have that be instilled in your values as you progress as an adult with your own kids and your own one, that's rare. And two, what I'm hearing from you, Nick, it's that you are serious about the profession. Have been probably five or different or six already that you've shared about the commitment of the position of being a tax attorney. I don't know. Did you oath? Was that the right word? Oath?
Duty, it's a duty.
The duty, which is just so special. You're a good believes in doing the right thing, and you aligned yourself into a role as a tax attorney in which you have a duty to provide the right type of care and responsibility and information and proactivity and responsiveness because of the position. Again, I think that is very unique, Nick. That's, I believe, one reason why you are so very successful at doing what you're doing. You're looking at business owners and you're looking at wealth families and giving them advice. There's a lot of individuals that I am working with that aren't at the 25 million or the 50 million. Maybe they're half a million and they still don't think that they're doing things properly. And they're looking at different types of social media and they're just like, gosh, if I did this, if I did this, and if I went from an LLC to an S Corp, and if I hired my family members to do this, and if I could do this, then at the end of the year, then I'm not just chasing zero profitability because I want all the money to come to me. Some simplistic advice that you see with entrepreneurs and small business owners, something that they could do better that is relatively simple, not too complicated, or even what mistakes do you think a lot of people in the 500,000 to 1 million range, what mistakes are they making that you could easily say, do this? And if you want more, of course, reach out, crownpointtax.com, speak to me or a member of my team, of course. But what comes to mind?
First and foremost, that all the things that you see on social media aren't as easy as it sounds. That's the top line because I've had clients come to me and say, give me strategies. I want to see what strategies could I use. I'll go through 15 of them and reject one. They'll say, I don't want to do that. It's too much. No, I don't want to do that. That's much. I don't have time for that. Okay. then we can't do anything, right? That's the point. That we see these on social media and it sounds so simple, but there's compliance involved. There's risk involved. So you have to actually be able to do it the right way. Some simple things. One thing you mentioned is S Corp election. But why do we do that? We pay a 15.3% self-employment tax. That's your FICA. Now, if you actually set a payroll, which an S corporation can do, you set a payroll, you pay yourself a salary. That salary now is the only thing that gets tagged with the 15.3%. Now you get all your distributions at ordinary income, don't get attacked by that additional 15.3% tax. As I mentioned, this is what I tell my, because it's not what their CPAs tell them. Their CPAs tell them just going to do an S corp. You're going to set up a payroll. Don't worry about it. I want them to worry about it. I want them to understand why we're doing these things. And the simple things is just looking through your expenses and thinking about what is really a business expense. Because a business expense is one ordinary. That means that in your industry spend on it. And it's one that's necessary. It's just something that helped you make a profit. That's a really broad business. You pay taxes only on whatever's left over. If you can for business expenses, and again, they're relevant and they're real, this can reduce your tax burden. And that's a simple one. That's just looking at your everyday. These are some of the easy things. But the big thing that I always tell these folks is you aren't a billionaire. If you're looking at social media and they're saying, here's what the billionaires do, it's not going to work for you. Because I've had so many clients come to me and say, I want to try these strategies. They actually, in order to get the tax benefits, you have to defer that capital somewhere. The capital has to go into an investment account, into some qualified opportunity zone. Have to have the actual cash to make these moves. If you aren't a billionaire, it doesn't make sense to look at oil and gas plays that are a minimum investment of $100,000. You don't have $100,000 laying around. We can't do that. People don't talk about that on social media. Ultimately, it's working with advisors that actually understand your situation and strategies that work for you at your level, at your exact level, not an approximation, not someone who's 10 years down the line from you, but you, where you are now.
For our listeners, this goes out to entrepreneurs, executive CEOs, founders, wide variety, a very wide variety. Who could be a client for you and your team?
Love this question because I always say, yes, you don't work with W-2s. No, I do. It's just not as heavy touch. I don't have to do any bookkeeping. There's no really financial reporting. We're meeting on a few tax strategies because it's true. They are a bit of the unfortunate. They do pay a lot in taxes, but ultimately there are things they can do. So work with folks from Meta and Google executives all the way up to multinational family offices, folks with businesses in multiple countries, children spread out all over the world, several different spouses even. It runs the gamut. And that's intentional because I don't want that I have any limit on who I can help. Anyone that wants good tax strategy, good financial advice and planning, they should come talk to me just even to get some idea of what we can do.
What I was hoping the answer would be. I didn't want to hear only people that are making over $250 million a year. Great. You do work with those people, but it's also people that are not at that level that might be our listeners, because I want this to benefit you and I want it to benefit your company and I want our listeners. And my sense is, Nick, you and your team, what I know of you so far, are very approachable and very willing to have conversations with you or your team members to say, hey, look, this is how we can help you work. You probably don't need us. You probably don't need us, or you really do need us. Curious, Nick, one of the statements that you had shared with me before is that you're able to reframe how you look at life in general based on successes that you've had and failures that you've had. I'm curious, from a monetary perspective, working with billionaires has that allowed you to reframe how money affects people in a good or a bad way?
That's a phenomenal question. I think that it's helped me understand how money can drive people in the wrong direction. I've seen folks let their ego just get taken away by success. Think about a concept from poker called resulting. When we play a poker hand, there are odds. There's always a non-zero chance that you could lose. Even if you have a 91% chance of winning the hand, that 9 can come and bite. If you lose that, the resulting piece, the error that you make is, oh, then I played that hand wrong because I lost. No, you played that hand exactly correct. You had a 91% chance of winning. You did everything. It was a bad result. That doesn't mean the process was. I think what a lot of very wealthy people think is, I made a bunch of money. I did was right because it worked. This is where I really found this is in the gym industry. Because if we remember about 15 years, CrossFit was everyone was doing CrossFit. It was the new thing. You could open up a gym and make a killing because everyone wanted it. It was everywhere. But as CrossFit faded, the gym industry has also faded, especially COVID hurt it. The gym industry actually doesn't make a ton of money. You think it would. It really, most gym owners are struggling primarily because the space they need is so rent is a massive piece and the upkeep of that large space is also very high, really crushes their margins. But this is something people that started those CrossFit gyms never talk about. They talk about how successful they are. Oh, I know how to start gyms. I'm the gym expert. Look, I started 3 gyms in 2009 and I crushed it. Sure. But the result isn't because of the process. That's because you got very lucky. You rode a wave instead of
And
actually being able to create a business.
what I'm hearing from you is that there are some people that are successful and they might think that they are successful because of the money. But if they look at the steps of what they invested in or how they built a company, it was lucky, maybe it was riding the wave, maybe it was timing, maybe it was trends, maybe they had done. Probably be very cautious to say, I'm so successful because I have all of this money.
Yeah.
There's things that you could directly influence or indirectly influence. And I'm thinking on the flips, what if there is someone that is not a millionaire or is a billionaire that barely their bills, yet they are doing so many of the right things for the right reasons to give back, to help others, to make people feel inspired. What do you say to those people?
Their key to understanding that is that time is undefeated. What I really think of the time. Our mentor about this all the time, David Meltzer. It's consistency, showing up every day, keep going, really making that same effort every day in the face of evidence that it's not going to work out. That's the key is that when it looks like this is just not something that will ever pan out. That's when you have to keep going, especially if you believe in the mission. If you believe and you really believe in yourself and believe that it can work, keep going. Again, it comes full circle from what I talked about at the top of the show, say yes to opportunities. Because if you keep going, keep saying, eventually it will break out. Eventually it will work because you show up consistently.
Same thing when we were talking before we record about podcasting. We're global top 2 to 5%. And congratulations on the success, Nick, of your show as well. I want to make sure we're plugging that in addition to your company. But I believe we're successful because we got some really interesting people. We have authentic questions. We don't cover the basic. Tell me about this. And you could Google the want to understand people. And I think our listeners want to understand people. The consistency of doing it 240, 250 times once a week for at least once a week for the last 3 years, it has gotten into this. It's popular and more people are talking about it. Then we get more and more interesting people on you. We'll start with your listeners and your followers, and then it happens and happens. So I appreciate what you're saying. I guess my advice to the listeners would be the same thing. If you're doing something that you are passionate about, that you believe is for the right reasons, be consistent, show up every single day, and it happen, which aligns with you finding slices of opportunity to be able to expand your company and do what you want to do. Are you fulfilled now, Nick, in doing what you are doing?
So I was just thinking about that last night as to what do I do? And to be honest, it's more than just Crown Point now. I have so many different projects. I work with David on Meltzer Capital, where we find funding for companies that are just revenue positive. I work with Rob Gill over at Epic Wealth to do financial planning and insurance. I have multiple other projects with real estate development. What I have done is actually tailored my career to just who I am. I enjoy working on a myriad of projects. That's really who I am and what I love to do. I am fulfilled because I discovered that myself. That's the part of the reframe is I really had to go internal and ask myself questions without my parents' voice. I think that's critical for all of us to understand is that voice inside of your head was programmed by your parents. It's actually not yours. To reclaim it is something cathartic, but it can also lead you down this path to where you should actually be. Because once I reframed brain in my mindset to actually own what I want rather than what else was expecting of me, life has just unfolded and unfurled in an amazing way, deliver me all of the things I want.
Did your parents, Nick, want you to be a tax attorney?
Oh, I need to be attorney when I was, I think, 6 or 7 years old. There was to have an attorney and a doctor, and they got it. My brother's the doctor, I'm the attorney.
What would you say is next for you, Nick? What's next for you?
In my work, I have a meeting at 11 o'clock where I'll ask clients, so what's the next 5 years look like? They're going to give me an answer. But what I say is, I have no clue what's next, but it's going to be something good that I can say, because ultimately all I have is today. All I have today. It's all we have. It's ultimately for me, the next thing, I have 11 o'clock with a client. That's all that I focus on. Just what is the next thing? What's the next thing coming up? And what can I do? And it's planning just within in that next week. Because for me, if I think about where I was 5 years ago, and if you'd asked me if I'd be here today, I would say there's no way. How could I make it from where I am here in 5 years? Ultimately, for me, the next thing is simply the next thing. That's it. Just keep one foot in front of the other, keep moving and keep going.
Does it allow you to not then?
Oh, 100%. Because the other thing is that what I find is everything is vibrational. When you worry and you're about it, the universe is only going to deliver more of that to you because you're sending out those signals that, hey, here I am. I am stress. I am worry. Come to more. So
Mhm.
the more you can let that go and take that leap of faith that it's going to work out, even that's disappointing to happen, but we'll work it out. It'll figure it out. Ultimately, that is the attitude and the belief system that I now try and bring to my everyday life to quell thoughts, to stop those worries of, look, there's nothing I can do about it right now other than simply take the next step.
We talk about, or I talk a lot on stage about being where your feet are and being in the present. And there's this component, I don't think I shared it with you when I saw you in Vegas, but there's this component that we're rolling out called humanality, and the way that you can make people feel cared for and seen in a largely processed world, in a highly transactional. It's important that we are here, we are focused, we where our feet are. Those lines, I'm curious, while it's super important to be here, and you said your next call at 11 o'clock, you're going to be ready for it. And then after that, things are going to fall into place. I'm curious your perspective on manifestation and the
Mm.
visualization. It's hard for you to think, I'm not really sure what's next for me. I'm just going to stay consistent and show up and work hard. Do you believe in manifestation? Do you believe in the vision of 5 years, the vision of 10 years? Are you envisioning what your company is going to look like, what your family is going to look like, what your business will look like, what your podcast will look like? Does that, do you do that at all?
I do that. I do not time bound anything. I don't ask the universe to deliver me anything on any time. It's not my time. Look, if we really want to get woo woo, doesn't exist. There is no such thing as time. It is a human construct and a way for us to mark our lives. That's it. How salvific is it too for us humans to think, oh, let's keep time for us. I'm going to keep it for me or for a human race. The universe is so vast and unblinking. It does not care about time. Time doesn't it's real. What is real is you. It's your identity, and it's really just your thoughts. You aren't the thinker. Consciousness is we can get into that later. That's a whole separate conversation. But you are not the thinker. You aren't the one that originated your thoughts. Those thoughts came from else. Explain where. I've asked people this. Where do your thoughts come from? No one knows. There is no genesis that we can point to. If that's true, then all is mind. Hermes Trismegistus was correct. All is mind. If you can control the mind and visualize and create that identity. I don't think about manifestation. I think identity. Who am I? What do I look like? What does it feel like? What am I doing? Who am I with? How much money do I have? These are the kinds of things that I simply put into place in when I write it down. I do a gratitude journal every day. But these are consistent things that I do to draw those things into my life. It's vibrational, but I never put a time limit on it. I never say, hey, you need to deliver me this by the end of the month, universe. It's not my place. There's no end of the month. The universe doesn't understand that. What is the end of the month to an infinite being? There's no end of the month.
Wow. Well, as you said that, Nick, it takes pressure off, doesn't it? It takes the pressure off. The question that I asked was, do you worry? You're not worrying. You're putting forth the right effort for the right reasons. You had said, am I making enough money? I know based on you, am I helping people in the right way? Am I abiding by the structure of the oath that I took and the duty of care with my responsibility? Am I doing all of the right things for my family, for your wife, for your parents, like for everybody, for your friends? Such a great, refreshing way of looking at it, Nick. Instead of I need to get this done, do this, the element of time, universe doesn't matter. If we are consistent with our efforts every single day, if we are thinking thoughts and doing good actions, then naturally what is due to come to us will come to us because we're showing up and putting forth the consistent actions single day. When you think about it that way, it's
Well,
a pretty good though.
and that's the thing. Keys to really think about it is I'm the person that stuff happens to. I'm the everything works out for me. That's the person I am. That's who I am. If you can truly believe that, again, it's tough. You have to suspend all disbelief of evidence to the contrary. If you continue to believe that and simply, no matter what happens, I'm the person that always works out for me. That has been such a key unlock for me to have that self-talk of just who I am. And the universe delivers it to me.
I'm the person, things always work out for me, even when things are not easy. Still say that to yourself?
Right? Especially when things are hard or I get a no, big deal. Hey, I'm the person that it always works out for me.
Wow. And Nick, we're going to close with that. And this is something else I from stage when I've been doing my keynote messages. It's that if you are here right now, you're batting 1,000%. Every single challenge that has ever approached you up until this day, May 28th, 2026, 10:18 Eastern, you've crushed it. You've overcome every single obstacle. I'm sad. You're here. I don't have enough money. You're here. I lost a job. You're here. You gained a job. You're here. You woke up this morning. You're here. You have achieved or overcome every single difficult obstacle that has been put into your path simply by being here now. When we think about that, and good things are going to happen to you, Nick, and to me, and for our listeners. If you're showing up and you're forth the right effort and you're not worried, you send out good positive vibrations and you continue to deserve good things will always work out for me. And really a great philosophical statement. I'm not going to be able to remember it, but if it's good and if it's bad, it's still good. And if it's great, it's still good. And if it's horrible, it's still good. It's still, which, and
No, actually, this is from Shakespeare. Shakespeare said, there is
yeah,
no good or bad, thinking makes it so.
much more eloquent.
No, that's the quote, though, from the Bard. It's
Yeah.
that there is objectively is no such thing as good and bad, right or wrong. It's how we think about it.
Wow. Cool, Nick. I'm so glad you're spending the time with us. Last question. We talked about what you do that most people don't do. If you had to fill in the blank from a general population, most people don't. What would you say most people are doing?
Believe in themselves. It's so sad in themselves. I think we've a society of folks believe that certain things are just not possible for them. It's truly the opposite. Literally anything possible because all mind control.
All is my ND mind. What a fantastic way to end this conversation. Nick, cannot thank you enough. I just want to make sure that I'm sharing proper details for you. Nik Agharkar, and he is the CEO and founder of Crowne Point Tax, and it's Crowne's Point, POINT, TAX.com. Last name is spelled Agharkar. First name Nick, Nik. Us where else we can go to and listen to your newly released podcast. Where's the best way, and what's the name of your show?
It's on YouTube. It's called the Resiliency Project Pod on YouTube. We talk about resiliency. We talk about people's biggest failures. It is the opposite of the highlight reel on Instagram. On social media, you can find me at Crowne Point Tax, at Crowne_Point_tax. Fun story, Crowne Point is actually a reference to a Revolutionary War fort that was critical in our success against the British, believe it or not.
And that was going to be my follow-up question the next time we have you on the show. Thank you for answering it now. No need to talk anymore, Nick. No, I'm just kidding. I will definitely have you back. I love the conversation. You're a heck of a gentleman, super smart, doing good for people. And I encourage all of our listeners, reach out. If you can use Nick's and his team service, great. Follow along, understand his podcast, follow him on social media. Such a great conversation. Nik Agharkar, appreciate it with Crowne Point Tax.
Thank you so much, Bart. I love being here.
Thank you, my friend. Feel good. We'll continue to talk soon.